Okay, this is the Dove Lady. I'm at it again. I'm showing you pictures of the different orbs that I have been taking pictures of, and I haven't got it focused quite right yet. I want you to see the whole screen. These are orbs of light, and as the light moves, you can see how it stretches and forms another whole orb. And you might call these photons of light instead of orbs. And each of these photons of light carries a different packet of color within it. It's like there are color schemes all around us, invisibly around us. Now, sometimes the orbs look like they actually have things in them that are little light entities. I like this one because it looks like a reel. It looks like the color is going down all through it. When the light comes out from the light source, it's color coded. It's kind of like, well, if you think of the string theory, how people think that everything is connected by little strings. Well, I'm seeing the little strings, and they're color coded. This is more pictures of the orbs as they come out of the light. Now recently, and I'll be showing you some pictures of this, I caught something besides the color cords like you see in this one. I caught a little ring coming out of the light inside of this particular phase of the orb or the photon. You'll be seeing them quite soon. I've got them lined up. Mostly all I ever see is the color cords like you're seeing here in this one. And the range of these color cords is, if I use my camera and go up a little bit into another part of the spectrum of light that's coming from the source, then I run into a darkness. It's like a ray of darkness, and you can see it. It just cuts off half of the orb into darkness and half of it not. And if I continue up into the darkness, you just don't see the orb at all. I'll show you when one like that comes by, one of the pictures. But what was really strange was I was getting these rings just one day. One day. I didn't get them the next day. Okay, here's a sample of one of them. As well as the color cords that are in these, there was this round tube looking like an inner tube. And it was just showing up in all those orbs. Only on that day. I mean, I could try to get it again right now, but I probably wouldn't because I've tried since that one day. And I haven't been able to get these little donut-shaped things in there again. So on that particular day, the light was sending out these little rings. I do think the light is changing us, and things are in the light that we can see. The way I'm taking pictures, we can see them, somewhat of them. And it's something maybe that's never happened before. Now, the little ring that was coming in that one day embeds itself in some of the more circular orbs, and I see it again, but not in the same way as coming in the color-coded ones that are closer to the light. See, there's one in that, a donut-shaped thing in that. Orbs are so strange. They can be real thick like those, or they can shape themselves like a worm. And light travels and carries colors in it, and I know this light is consciousness. And it's just beautiful. Sometimes when the light is traveling in the worm-like shape that I often catch it being in, it will go in a round circle and meet its own head the tail of it will go into the mouth of it. So it's like the snake that swallows its own tail. That's what light is. Light can do so many things. But when you think about it, everything is made of light. We're all of us composed of light. And so light has a lot of things it knows how to do. We're just not familiar with it. When you take a picture directly of the light, you get all these red or pinkish colored things. And see here, this is a photon of light coming out on its side, and it looks thin. But then it opens up. It can look like a scroll, like a book of light, scrolled up on both ends and maybe open in the middle. Light is just amazing what light does. The colors it makes that are all around us. Sometimes I've thought, well, what is this that I'm looking at it? I've called it photons, I've called it orbs. Sometimes I think of it as dark matter. And the reason is I was listening to a video the other day when they said, well, dark matter isn't really dark. It's only dark because we don't see it. So it's dark to us. Well, that is what this light is like that I'm catching in these orbs. Because to us, it's nothing more than a shiny spot on a piece of glass. A concentration, like you're looking at a car in front of you as you drive down the road. The sun is shining and there's a big bright light spot of brightness coming off of the back window of that car in front of you. And it's shining almost as bright as the sun. Well, that is a concentration of light. Here, this one, see that what just went past? That's where I met the dark. I met the dark half and I couldn't get the whole picture in. But what I'm saying is that shiny spot is more than, well, there's a concentration of light and it shines. We need to look into the shine because that's what all these pictures are. I've got a light source. I've got a shiny piece of glass that has concentrated in some areas points of real extreme shine, and that's what I focus on with my camera that gets all of this color. It's been right here in front of us all the time. We just didn't see it. We just saw it as a shiny spot and did not investigate it. But look what is in all these shiny things, orbs. And they could be something like the Akashic records. That how do we know how things are stored, information? Maybe information is stored as light. Maybe there is a way of reading this light and knowing what kind of language to decipher it with. I don't know. This is just conjecture on my part. Sometimes I've thought of this light in other ways as well. I've thought of it as something inside the nucleus of the atom. I've also thought of it as something that they're looking for when they try to collide atoms together to get that God cell or whatever they think they found, the Higgs boson cell or I don't know what they call it. I think this goes beyond that. Because for one thing, they haven't showed any pictures like this of what they're seeing at the Hadron Collider place. And they've spent quite a lot of money in trying to do what they're doing, which is trying to force the atoms to give up their secret. I'm not trying to force anything of these. I want this light to not even actually be named, although I'm always trying to name it, say, well, what is that? What is that? It is what it is. And when we name things, we limit them. When we name behaviors or events, we limit them to our definition of what we have named it. And sometimes we do this so bad that What happens in our life is what we've been calling for, because we've been naming every event, every person that we meet. We've been having an ideal in our mind, or maybe we even speak it with our tongue, and it happens to come true just like we thought it would, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we have to watch the things that we are thinking about. Whatever we see, whatever a person does. And I'm just as guilty as the next person of this. Okay, I want to show you, see that little thing right there? Oh, it just went by. I'll have to stop it. This thing right here, and another thing. They are in my old camera pictures as artifacts that stay in one part of the film. They're always in the same spot, because they're stuck like inside of that old camera. This, though, is taken with my new camera. And this is a double jointed little thing that my old camera shows in the bottom half of the screen, usually right about in that area. And here it is in my new camera, something real similar to the very same thing. And it will go by again. I will show you when the old camera picture shows up that has that in it. So it makes me wonder, what is that that's stuck in that old camera? Is it a growing thing? I know the numbers of them have grown. Now to get this going again. The numbers of artifacts that old camera has have grown in number, and they are all pretty similar to one another. So I don't know what is in that old camera. There's Harry. Right up here, there's Harry. I call him Harry because he shows up in a lot of orbs. And this little character here is always associated with, if I see that, I'm going to see Harry. Because when I'm in that part of the light spectrum that those things show up, then along comes Harry as well. Now Harry is not an artifact that's stuck in some part of my camera. He's a wily little thing. He moves around. And he doesn't always show up when I'm using the old camera. Sometimes I call for him. I say, Harry, where are you? I haven't seen you drop down in the orbs today. And sometimes calling for him will bring him. Other times not. He just pops in and out as he wishes. But I don't know if he's a he. I don't know if he responds to my calling for him. I just know that I see him, and sometimes I call for him, and right away he appears in an orb. So is there communication there? I don't know. Do I sound dumb? Probably. But I'm showing you things here that there aren't any explanations out there about. I've looked all around on the web, and I don't see anyone posting pictures of orbs that look like the orbs that I'm getting. It's really strange. Why is that B there? Don't be there. Okay, get it going again. Sometimes the orbs have things in them that look like branches of a tree or something like that. Very strange looking. Like that one looks like a cactus is in that one. Now really, when you look at these as often like as I do, you start seeing faces here and all kinds of things you can make out to be in them. Now sometimes orbs fan out like a fan. And this is a picture of one that did that. And I don't mean one. There's probably several orbs in that picture. But this is the basic orb. I would call it the basic orb. As it moves, it just drops down into other orbs. This one looks kind of like a fountain. This is an unusual orb here because it has a lot of darkness in it, and then one portion of it just streaks out. So many patterns are in these orbs. Or maybe they're photons of light. Or maybe they're messages. or maybe they're the stuff that makes up what everything is. I don't know. But I do know they're very interesting to look at. Now, I think I was talking about not labeling things. Sometimes we label even people. We know their tendencies and we say, oh, that person will never change. They'll always be a drunkard. They'll always, be the way that they are showing themselves to be right now. And when we do, we're putting them in a trap with our own thoughts about them. We could lift them up with our thoughts and see them being able to change. And a lot of times, people don't realize it, but when you put a label on something, you're putting an end to its ability to grow and become anything better. I know a lot of people who channel, the entities they speak to don't give them a name. They said, if I give you a name, I put a limitation on myself. And they don't want to do that. So I'm thinking, when I'm looking at all this, and I'm always trying to name it. Well, that's kind of ridiculous, because how could I name it? I don't know very much at all about what I'm looking at, except to say, it's light. I've read a lot of Walter Russell books. I have a lot of them on my channel if you care to listen to. The Secret of Light, or The Divine Iliad, or The Universal One. And he talks about everything being light. And light is the one substance that there is. And the reason there's differences in substance and elements is just the modifications that are put on light. Such modifications he talks about in his book, but I don't understand them, having to do with tone and color and all kinds of other influences. But then I wonder, where do those influences come from? Are they themselves light? I mean, where do the influences that are conditioning the motion and everything about light, where are they coming from? And what are they composed of? And then sometimes I think, well, everything is thought, so perhaps what conditions light is thought. And thought is something to be explored, because when you know something, that is a power. I haven't experienced it a lot in my life, but I do know that there have been times when I felt that I knew something and it turned out to be true. And there was a feeling of knowing. This is not an orb picture that I took, the one that just went by. That was the sky. I took that picture from the internet. The sky had a formation in it that looked real orb-like, but it was just something in the cloud formation that took on that look. Look at this one. Perfectly round circle there. So unusual looking. And I want to point out, this one right here is one of the artifacts that's in my old camera pictures. And sometimes that old camera takes pictures that look like the Pentagon shape. If I get it just a slightly bit bigger, it turns into a round shape. And see, these orbs have eyes in them. See the two eyes? With that old camera, there's often the two eyes. You see them right here in this one. You'll see them in several of these videos, of these pictures that are going by. They'll position themselves in the orb about a little more than halfway down and on the right, and they'll be right there in all of the orbs. Even if there's 5 orbs on that page, each 5 of them, each of the 5 have the eyes. I call them eyes because they're spaced like 2 eyes, but I don't know what they are. Did y'all get a soda for me?
You didn't have the rest of Reese's.
Aw.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm talking to my kids now. I'm still making a video and y'all are part of it. I'm making a video and y'all are part of it.
No, you don't want the rest of Reese's.
Why, he's probably spit in it. Yeah, I don't want the rest of
No,
his.
it's water.
I'm spitting my drinks. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm just kidding you. I can't believe y'all went out and didn't come back with a Coke or anything for me. Oh well. I'll have to. Okay, I'll water them in just a little while. Maybe I'll wait till the sun goes down. We're having to water because we don't have rain often enough here in Texas. Sometimes I do little rain dances, you might say, when I'm in the pool. I'm looking at all the starving little plants in my yard that need watering. I call to the rain to come. Now, some of the orbs that are going by now, they have a lot of little circles in them. All kinds of unusual things are in them. See, there's my little artifact. Close up, it looks kind of like a little fairy. Some of the ways this light can look as it travels through the glass, the way I capture it, it just looks all jumbled up and crazy looking. And everything that we look at is a moving thing. It's only in a certain form for a fraction of a nanosecond. And I'm happy to be able to capture some of those fractions because it is a vast subject, what light does, how it looks, what it can do. I have no idea what all it can do. I just know it can look some really beautiful ways. The next few that will be going by, are kind of very colorful, and I thought they looked like Easter eggs. Look at the color in that worm-looking one. Now, sometimes they have no color hardly at all. And this one actually looks like it has dark spots. But look at the next few. Big old Easter egg-looking one. I hope you don't mind that I have voices of other people interrupting these videos. I live in a house where I'm in the room right next to my grandson, and he has a lot of music and friends over and all kinds of stuff. I don't have the best conditions for making videos that are free of noise. Plus, there's a train that comes by like every 30 minutes and honks its horn because we live by 3 different crossings. And it has to honk its horn at each and every one. Speaking of trains, I haven't heard that train much today. Maybe they're having a day off. These orbs are so colorful and so astonishing. There's a ring in this one. Maybe it's one of those donut things that I saw come in. You don't know what you're looking at. You're just looking at it, gawking. That's what I do. I just gawk at it and I think, what in the world is this? It looks so strange. I wish I could get the attention of those who have a more scientific mind. I wish I could get their attention, that they would pay some attention to this, to give it credence that I have discovered something. because maybe other people could give me good ideas of a different way to take pictures of these orbs. I rack my brain all the time trying to think of another way to capture it in some other phase of it. I do take outdoor orb pictures, but mostly what you're seeing today are indoor. Because indoor you can control the lighting better and you get more color. Outside, when I take pictures of orbs, I do get color in them, but it's very hard to look at my viewer because the sun is shining usually too bright. And in that case, it's harder to get an orb in the picture. Although it's easier late in the afternoon when the sun is going down. And I have gotten many pretty pictures of orbs with trees in the background and such as that, and that makes it look a little more beautiful to have some foliage in the background. These orbs are angles of light, and some people have said, you know, angels really are angles. Often we misspell angel and we put the L before the E, and we may be more correct about what an angel is. Maybe I'm looking at angels, you know? I just don't know. Angles of light. And there's one that looks like a folded up scroll. Oh, and this one is really something. One time I was looking at a video, I forget what it was of, except that it was outer space, and they showed some things that looked similar to what these photons of light look like that was just out in space. And there is a belief, and I believe it might be true, that what is in the really large is in the really small. You can study the expanse of space by studying something that's tiny in comparison. Because the same laws affect things that are big as well as things that are little. The same kinds of laws affect them both. Well, I am going to be getting some attention that might attract the attention of a scientific person, because I'm soon going to be in a documentary. And I don't know the name of the documentary just yet, but I'm one of 3 people that was interviewed for this documentary. But it is in connection with Peace Pilgrim. I used to go to the Peace Pilgrim Center, and a film crew came there one time to make a video, a documentary about Peace Pilgrim. And they interviewed me at that time. And it's been several years since then, and this same filmmaker is doing a follow-up of the lives of the people who were influenced by Peace Pilgrim. So, I'm one of them. And they came to visit me, and mostly they talk about things with me that I feel about life and stuff like that. But I said, I really want you to see and make known what I'm capturing in these orbs. So they did film a little bit of that. And they were interested in my orb pictures, and I sent them away with a whole lot of them that they could look at and show to people. But I don't know how much they'll stress that in the documentary, but this is what I want to call attention to, not me, but to what I've discovered here with these orbs. To get some other minds interested in it. But that should be coming up around the first of the year, or maybe the end of the year. That documentary shall be done. And here's a fun thing. They're going to do a premiere of it in Austin, Texas. And I live in Hutto, Texas, which is real close. So I'll be able to go to it. As a matter of fact, I'll be the guest of honor at it. Nothing like that has ever happened to me before. No one's ever really paid a whole lot of attention to anything I thought. So it was amazing when they came here and wanted to know my thoughts. It was like, wow, you know, this is something that doesn't happen to me that often. And I didn't want to be that it would be me showing my face talking, but that's all in all what they did. Mostly they just got me the talking head, you know. Oh dear, I don't know how I'm going to look in that film. Probably pretty plain and ordinary looking. So I'm kind of excited about what that's going to turn out like. The maker of that film is Kashyar Darvish, and he's made many films, many documentaries about the Dalai Lama. Look at this orb going by. This is so strange. It looked like a parachute there. And this one looks like, well, you could walk around in it if you were tiny enough. This one has a checkered board in it. You play a game of checkers. This one looks sort of like a jellyfish. I'm just going to let this play out as long as I can film. My little camera that I'm using is not reliable. Sometimes it will give me like 50 minutes, and other times it'll cut off. It'll just cut itself off at like 35 or 36 or something. Now this orb going by is a funny looking one. Sometimes they're completely white. I think I showed this one twice. They just move like a fountain. They're so fluid-like. And these orbs are also fire-like because of the colors in them looking that way sometimes. And when I'm seeing with, I think, my third eye, because I see a little flap that opens and closes with my eye in what I look at with the naked eye. But I was hearing someone talk about the pineal gland isn't activated by light, it's activated by darkness. And I thought, well, not for me. At first, when I started seeing the orbs with the naked eye, I would look at the sun or something like that with my eyes mostly closed and only opening a little tiny portion of my eye to any light to come in. And that's when I saw the orbs and different things. And then it became that I had less and less to squint my eyes in order to see the light doing all this kind of stuff. Until now, I don't have to squint my eyes at all. I just wait till the sun's in a certain place in the sky, really late in the afternoon when it's pretty low in the sky. And I don't have to squint my eyes in order to see this big orb of light form that has all these little things in it that look like little pieces of string of all sizes and all kinds of other things. There's too varied to explain it all. But I know it's my third eye, either beginning to open or maybe it is opened, I don't know. But it is activated by light. So there goes that theory. Maybe at first it's best to see it in the dark with only a tiny bit of light, but then after you develop its ability, you can have more and more light. People that are sun gazers get to where they can look at the sun, even the noonday sun, with their eyes wide open. So it takes a while before you adjust your eyes to the ability to do certain things or to see certain things. It takes practice and willingness on your part to look at the sun. Sometimes I try to look at it late in the evening with my eyes open real wide because you get a lot of energy from the sun. You don't want to do it at the noonday sun or when it's really, really hot. But I would advise people that it's not wrong to look at the sun late in the evening or maybe real early in the morning. I think it gives us something that energizes us. That energizes us like the Energizer battery. The bunny that keeps on going and keeps on going. Well, I used to have hundreds of orb pictures. Well, now I can't brag that I have hundreds. I have to say, I have thousands because I know I have at least a couple of thousand pictures of orbs. I can't quit taking pictures of them because I never know when I'll get something like I did that one day that I only got that one day, that little donut thing that came in. And it hasn't been that I've seen it again since then. And if I hadn't have taken pictures that day, I would not have seen it. So I'm sort of a research person with a camera into light. I'm researching light and taking pictures and conjecturing and talking crazy and living my life every day, reading books sometimes. I have a lot of videos on my channel where you can hear me read good books. I read a lot of Walter Russell's books and a couple of Ken Carey books that I love, like the Starseed Transmissions and The Return of the Bird Tribes. Those are two really good books of his. And I have a Richard Bosch book that I read, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and Illusions by him as well. I read that book. Look how beautiful this is. So colorful. I keep saying I'm going to get some of these enlarged as a big picture to put on my wall. Some of the more colorful ones that show a lot of depth and dimension. Now see, that's an example of the light swallowing its tail. See the head of the light and going into the tail? Light really travels. It travels, it's constantly traveling in and about us. And we are that light, that very light. I read also a lot of the Seth books, and he attempts to explain it. There's the light again, and the tail, and the head. And Seth explains that about what we are. I love the colors of this one. Real soon now, I'm going to start another book called Mission. A friend let's see, what was his name? Michael Alvarez, sent me the PDF form of that book called Mission. And I think it's going to turn out to be a pretty wonderful book to read. So it will be the next book that I read is going to be Mission. He also sent me one about breathing, about the control of the breath, and I'm sure that is important for us to know. Possibly I might read that one too. There's only so much time in a day though, and my plants get thirsty out there. I have to go out and get away from this computer sometime and tend to things. I have been building myself a little retreat in the back portion of the yard. We have a pretty big yard, and I've got the shape of the vector equilibrium, and I can actually walk into it. It's made of PVC pipe and all kinds of decorations of sacred geometry that I'm hanging into it. But it's a work in progress. I sit inside of it sometimes late in the evening, and hopefully the mosquitoes will cease to be biting me when I'm in that. I bought one of those little things that you wear on you that's supposed to keep the mosquitoes away. But what really bites me is not the mosquitoes so much as these little bugs that fly low to the ground. They're like right in the grass, and they can sting. They're little gnat-looking things. If I go outside and get bitten by mosquitoes or fire ants, they're out there too. I've gotten into them, and that just makes my whole day miserable if I get a fire ant bite. And then sometimes, when I first started working in the back, before we got it all removed, it was poison ivy would get me. I have a picture of me with my face so swollen, I don't even look like me, because I got poison ivy and it spread all over my body, especially my face. And I got poison ivy 2 times that year. One time I had to go into the hospital, it was so bad. It seemed to be like in my throat, keeping me from breathing good. So I really love the outdoors, but I have got to watch out for certain things out there. Poison ivy, fire ants, little bugs that sting, and mosquitoes. But guess what? I love the ladybugs and the butterflies and those little cicadas or something that get in the tree and sing so loud. I like them. They don't bother me. They're just loud. A few of these are orbs I took outside now that you see going by. They're less colorful because you have too much light. In order to get color, you have to have a little darkness. Darkness brings out color. Well, I'm surprised. This one looks like it has a little rope, a little piece of twine in it. I'm surprised I'm going now for 43 minutes so far. That's pretty long. Now sometimes someone will take a picture of an orb and send it to me. That has happened on a few occasions, but not near enough. I don't know why I can't get people interested in trying this for themselves. Because all you need is a little digital camera and a light source. And it's preferable if it's a LED light because they're very bright. That's all you need. And I tell how it's done, how easily it's done. But maybe it's not so easy for people. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this is something that only I can do. Because for one thing, I had a friend in Arizona who took some very beautiful pictures with me. I showed him how to do it, and he was able to do it. But so many people these days, like my family here, for a prime example, they're not much interested in this. They're more concerned with entertainment and just survival skills, things that pay the bills, you know. And when they want to relax, they don't want to look at orbs. They want to watch something on television. And I don't blame them. I just think I wish they could be interested in this, and maybe someday they will. But until then, I'm not going to worry about it. I realize that people are preoccupied. Pretty much all people are preoccupied. But I have